Most aviation emergencies are decided in seconds, but imagine knowing your plane is going to crash and having to wait in the dark for 5 agonizing hours before it happens. In 1956, that nightmare became a reality for the passengers of Pan Am Flight 6. They were flying on the Boeing 377 Stratocruiser, a pressurized, luxurious marvel of mid-century commercial aviation. The Stratocruiser was pushed through the sky by 4 massive Pratt & Whitney radial engines, each packing 28 cylinders of raw power. 4.5 hours after taking off from Hawaii, the flight was cruising smoothly towards San Francisco. They had just crossed the precise geographical midpoint of the route, the point of no return. Then, as the crew climbed to 21,000 feet, a mechanism called a prop governor failed. The far left engine refused to throttle back, spinning so wildly out of control that it threatened to tear itself apart. The crew's only option was to cut the oil supply, allowing the engine to seize. But the massive propeller kept windmilling in the slipstream, acting like a giant air brake. This created immense aerodynamic drag, forcing the remaining 3 engines to strain violently just to keep the plane in the air. That extreme strain triggered a deadly chain reaction. Within minutes, the overworked engine on the far right began to sputter and had to be shut down completely. Halfway across the Pacific Ocean, they had lost 2 of their 4 engines. They were now flying too slowly to reach land on their remaining fuel, and ditching a heavy airliner into the ocean at night meant crashing blindly into unpredictable, shifting swells. A single mechanical anomaly locked the flight crew into a terrifying physics problem. They lacked the speed to reach safety, and the darkness below guaranteed destruction. Captain Richard Ogg had exactly 1 asset left. The U.S. Coast Guard maintained a cutter called the Pontchartrain in the middle of the ocean to observe weather and guide ships. Ogg immediately altered course to intercept it. Reaching the ship didn't mean they could immediately hit the water. Landing in pitch-black conditions meant Ogg wouldn't be able to align the plane with the wave crests, a mistake that would instantly shatter the fuselage on impact. Ogg ran a grim calculation. He matched his fuel burn rate against the clock, determining they had just enough gas to circle the Coast Guard cutter until the sun came up. Inside the cabin, the PA system crackled to life. Ogg calmly informed his 24 passengers that they were going to crash into the ocean, but first they would spend the next 5 hours circling in the dark. Below them, the crew of the Pontchartrain scrambled into action, holding their position and prepping their emergency water rescue protocols for the inevitable impact. In this specific emergency, time was a resource. By enduring the psychological torture of the wait, the flight crew controlled the only variable they could, securing the visibility they desperately needed to survive. Inside the aircraft, the tension was suffocating. The Stratocruiser was outfitted with luxurious sleeper berths, a stark contrast to the desperate survival operation now unfolding in the aisles. Keeping panic at bay fell to Purser Patricia Reynolds, an experienced flight attendant who took absolute command of the cabin. Reynolds remembered data from a crash the previous year, where an aircraft's tail section had violently snapped off. She used that knowledge to systematically relocate every passenger away from the vulnerable extremities, packing them into the structurally stronger center of the fuselage. She then faced a unique logistical hurdle, protecting a pair of 18-month-old twins. Because the plane lacked child-sized seat belts, Reynolds improvised, strapping the girls tightly into their parents' laps and packing the space around them with pillows to absorb the impending shock. As the sky finally began to lighten, she walked the aisle one last time, ensuring everyone had their life vests securely fastened and that all sharp objects were completely emptied from their pockets. Captain Ogg was managing the aerodynamics of a failing machine, but the survival of the people inside relied entirely on the uncompromising discipline and psychological control executed in the cabin. At dawn, the Pontchartrain laid down a thick path of fire-retardant foam across the choppy water. It created a visual runway to guide the crippled plane down and smother any sparking fuel. Ogg eased the plane toward the sea, but the moment they touched down, the left wing caught a massive ocean swell. The impact spun the aircraft violently, instantly shearing the tail off completely. Yet, those long hours of meticulous preparation paid off. The life rafts deployed immediately, and Coast Guard rescue boats swarmed the wreckage, evacuating everyone in under 5 minutes. Every single person on board survived. Less than 20 minutes after hitting the water, the shattered remains of Pan Am Flight 6 slipped beneath the waves. When we think of miraculous water landings today, we usually picture U.S. Airways Flight 1549 in the Hudson River, an event that happened in broad daylight, surrounded by a major metropolis. Captain Chesley Sullenberger executed brilliant split-second decision-making, but Captain Ogg and his crew faced a grueling marathon of endurance. While aviation history celebrates the instinct to save a plane in seconds, the crew of Flight 6 proved something else. It takes equal courage to calculate the odds, calm a cabin, and hold your nerve for 5 hours when you know you are going down. If you want more historical deep dives like this, hit the subscribe button.